The colonial project really tried to strip so much from us, our language, our identity and our culture. After the arrival of colonisation in Aotearoa, the practice of taonga puoro was stripped from us, impacting not only the rituals of the everyday, but also of our spirituality. Taonga puoro are Māori instruments. They used to be part of everyday life for us. If you haven't seen one before, they can be made from all kinds of materials, but traditionally things like wood, bone or stone. I don't think the colonial project was entirely successful though. I get really hopeful and excited when I think about these acts of revival, reclamation and Indigenous celebration. Today, we're really lucky that so many have started to reconnect with these instruments and bring them back into their everyday life. I'm going to be speaking to some amazing wahine who are part of the third wave of the Puoro revival. I'm on my way to Karori in Te Whanganui-a-Tara to meet up with Ariana Tikau. She's a Puoro practitioner and revivalist and hails from Kaitahu.
Taonga Puoro were just a part of everyday lives in a spiritual sense, but also in a practical sense. Some of them were used for hunting birds. Then we have other ones that were more ceremonial. Some of the taonga, like the Pumotomoto, were used for birthing and for accompanying oriori.
Kali Meari is another Puoro practitioner. She specialises in storytelling and we meet up with her at her whare in Newtown.
The first time I ever played a puoro, I suppose, was at school. We had, instead of like a lunch bell, we had a pūtātara. That was how you knew you were the cool kid, if you could go and play the pūtātara, because not everybody could get a real good voice on it. And that's how we let the school know whatever was happening, you know, if we were gathering for karakia or going out for kai.
We're halfway through our kōrero and we're joined by Ruby Solly. She's also a player and a PhD candidate. Her thesis is focusing on taonga puoro.
Taonga puoro were banned as part of the Tohunga Suppression Act, which went from 1906 to 1962. You can tell I'm the nerdy one in the kaupapa. Straight away. It's like, Ngāti nerd.
Ngāti nerd!
Like, Kāti nerd, really. But that bill had a few different purposes. One of the purposes was actually to protect Māori from people who were saying that they were tohunga, who weren't actually tohunga, and that was putting some people in danger, especially with modern illnesses that were coming to New Zealand at that time. But as well, it really was to suppress our culture and all the visible parts, like traditional dress and songs and language. And these instruments were seen not just as musical instruments, but as tools of kind of superstition, they were quoted as saying. But really it was because music, as in toi Māori as well, was just integrated through all parts of life. Something I really, really value is the pūtangitangi, and this kind of was, I think this was kind of post-war actually, so it's during that time, which shows that a lot of our people were still practicing but were keeping things very secret and very quiet, and were often made by women from clay. So this is one just made from natural clay from the Waimapihi stream in Wellington. And the breathing that you have to do to play is very similar to that like really deep tangi that you do for funerals, or I often do like that little kid cry, like I just want to. It's that same go level of breathing. The dairy, like it's
I'm
that.
familiar.
Yeah, everyone was like, why do you always do the? I wanted to go the dairy one. I'm like, because I can remember that cry. And I really want to do it. But it's that same breathing, so. So that was to get that crying started and get that out.
It's clear today that the Tohunga Suppression Act had a really big impact on silencing our culture and traditions. But the existence of Taonga Puoro today proves the resilience of our tipuna.
A lot of our kōrero have been mixed up or lost or misinterpreted or reinterpreted in a way that decenters our atua wahine, which is, very patriarchal and very colonial. It's like the ways in which they want to control us. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed getting to know Puoro on a more like personal level. There's no way that you can tell me a story like Pūtehue and how she swallowed the biggest storm and like not have her sit as a very integral part of that kōrero. Or same for, Raukatauri. Raukatauri and I, we go way back nowadays. Once I started playing Pūtorino, the kind of understanding beyond duality was amazing, because this puoro has not only female or feminine sound, also has a masculine sound, and then there is a mixture of those sounds. And then if you're a super wizard, you can play anything. You can get all sorts of oro from this one puoro, which I think, helps us to think beyond just like atua wahine or atua tāne or, those kinds of binary things. I think our atua wahine, in that sense, if we're going to put them there in our puoro, are still really relevant. We just have to find new ways to bring them back.
What does that revival look like? What do you want for the future of Taonga Puoro?
I think first and foremost, just having the access. Having our tamariki who want to play puoro in our country, to be able to do that. I think there's a misconception that you need this beautiful carved something for it to be puoro, but some of my favourite are he anga from the moana, or a stone or a piece of driftwood. Those are some of my most favourite puoro because they're everywhere. Go to Tātahi and Tangaroa will hook you up if you ask. It's where I found most of my kōauau, bone pieces that you can then shape sand with a stone and ta-da, you have a puoro. Yeah, just kind of trying to demystify some of the weird things that people think about our traditions and our practices and rituals.
Because I think the first time someone handed me a puoro, I was just holding it with shaky hands, oh my God, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's been cool watching the likes of you and Ruby and Ariana and just realising that anyone can have a jam, because I was saying I've never considered myself a musical person, but maybe puoro's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm just really getting that heart out, protected by your auntie's vibe right now. It's really clear that Ruby, Ariana and Kali all have really big dreams about the future of Taonga Puoro and all the ways that it can be integrated into our lived daily lives as a way to communicate, be healthy, be well, connect to our spirituality. I feel supported and empowered to act towards an Indigenous future that is uplifting, that is connected, where our mātauranga is held safe but also taken to new and innovating places. As a culture, we've lost so much, but there's also a lot to look forward to. I'm so proud to be Māori.